Your Grace.
Detective Poirot, good morning.
London is a very large city. I would fathom a guess that there is more than one.
Your confidence. I'm meeting the young Russian girl here. God teaches us to forgive and love thy neighbor. Sometimes that can be more challenging than expected.
Has she offended you personally?
Using the museum for her sordid meetings with those
She doesn't strike me as someone...
And what...
Well,
Exactly. If you don't know, it would be wise... I walked in on them in the restoration room a couple of weeks ago. I had come straight from my regular... I opened the door.
You are not aware.
Do you need to wash your ears out? I just told you what they were up to. And when she saw me, they stopped talking.
Merci.
Go on. You make it sound as though it is...
Forgive me, have I...
If you cannot even understand what I have to say...
That is perhaps a matter best discussed at a later time.
There is no need to lose one.
Your Grace.
A lesson for another time. Let's just say that I certainly...
Merci. Mademoiselle Warbeck,
I'm actually rather busy.
I would have thought recovering your painting and
I'm sorry. Is it
You do not wish to
No.
It is important.
that is quite all right, mademoiselle.
Usually after an exhibition, the artist...
But on this occasion...
I still have every intention of going ahead with the exhibit that includes her work. Even if I'm still the curator of this museum. I'm hanging her work...
I recall Mademoiselle Court-Smythe referred to the exhibit as hers. The level of arrogance and hypocrisy is now
Honorable?
I get the sense you...
But...
we, butting heads.
It would be easier to say what we do agree on. I don't know what he has against me. I didn't like one of his suggestions for an exhibition.
You have been...
Go right ahead.
You have...
Huh. Oh. Huh. Oh. Mhm. Aha. Hmm.
Go right ahead, Detective.
You have.
Huh.
Go on, then.
Ah. Aha.
Go right ahead, Detective.
You have.
Go on, then.
Merci.
Oh. Ah. Aha. Huh. Oh. Hmm. Ah.
Go right ahead.
You have been.
The evidence suggests... Come, my little grey cells. We must... Come now. Magnifique. The pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together.
Go right ahead.
You have.
Go on, then.
Mer-
Bishop Mountjoy was quite adamant Mademoiselle Warbeck's meeting was something untoward. To have a young woman undermine him in front of the other trustees. He allows his personal feelings to accentuate his cynical side. Mademoiselle Warbeck was doing nothing detrimental to the museum. In fact...
Go right ahead. I wonder who you've been talking to.
Not in so...
I was meeting with artists for a new exhibition. He can't see the future.
As well as the uncouth gentleman you met.
Uncouth? Anyone not wearing full priesthood. I wouldn't show Horace the finances because it has nothing to do with him. Well, considering he didn't want her work anywhere near the museum, then the next thing I heard was that he had commissioned her to do some pieces for his church.
Do you know what he had...
No idea, I'm afraid. She was sworn to...
You have been...
Go on, then. You'll have...
The paintings produced...
Oh, yes.
You couldn't just use her other piece.
I suppose I could have. It is not as though I kept it anyway. I wasn't...
Merci.
Go on, then.
Oh. Oh. Aha. Huh. Oh. Ah. Aha. Oh. Huh. Huh. Aha. Oh. Ah. Huh. Aha. Ah. Oh. Oh. Ah. Huh.
One step closer to I should not be Voila.
It appears that the good bishop has been replaced. He commissioned her to make these forgeries.
Disappearing where, though?
Why else? Mademoiselle. Now, Hastings, we must ask ourselves, where might Bishop Mountjoy be hiding? We must gain access to the space behind.
Aha. Oh.
Why don't you have a look first?
Do not tell me you are
Not the dark, just... Poirot?
If I am not mistaken, this is part of the secret tunnels that were built hundreds of years ago to sneak those that did...
And why exactly are we in here?
The why must never be...
Right.
Huh. Uh-huh. Oh.
We have our third forgery.
Thank goodness. Don't...
Bishop Mountjoy must have discovered the painting that he received from Mademoiselle Courtsmythe was one of her forgeries.
And lashed out. Now he's been using this room to store his own private art collection. I can picture him sitting here, smug as anything, surrounded by...
What I find most...
is that not only does he deprive the world of beauty and joy from seeing these works, but he also keeps them... He's even having to light his candle clock to keep from drifting off down here. Such a waste, don't you
One's a...
I was only voicing...
You have thoughts beside those of Mademoiselle Farquhar?
Really, Poirot? You still think...
When one exclaims such regard for a suspect in a murder investigation, it is hard not to think any other way and comments.
You may not be so accustomed to the idea of showing, or at least having, some form of
There is a difference.
That there is a difference between commenting and being rude and obnoxious.
I was not expecting Monsieur Hastings to be so sensitive on the matter.
What was that? Oh, just the bishop's candle clock. I don't know about you, but I've had enough of this play. What are you doing?
The bishop's candle clock has forced me to question.
We must return to Mademoiselle...
Perhaps that is a job best left for you.
Huh. Aha. Oh. Ah. Huh. Mm-hmm.
Et maintenant,
Oh.
I believed myself to be the greatest detective in the most prestigious police, but I have been duped and swindled. And now I stand here alone. Monsieur Hastings was quick to make his excuses to retire to his abode and not return to the scene of the crime by my side. I hope there is not something further that troubles him. One does not need added strains at a time when steps must be retraced and then... Sacré! I have spent my time. A murderer remains free. But the truth of the fire eludes Detective Hercule Poirot no more, and soon neither will dare I cannot believe I allowed myself to fall for such a deceptive move. The killer knew I would ask for an alibi, and they knew how to cover their tracks perfectly. Now, though, I have the upper hand. The killer believes that I have extinguished all avenues of my questioning. I wish Monsieur Hastings were here. I know of his want for the same as I. The truth. Now more than ever do I need Monsieur Demire and Mademoiselle Babagna. I am glad to say that I can be sure Mademoiselle Farquhar. She claimed her alibi stands. Monsieur Christiansen, one of my keys. But Madame Allen can substantiate his trip to see her at the theater to apologize during... Which leads us to the good Madame Allen. A side note. I must make an effort to see her production. The Honorable Bishop Mountjoy, Mademoiselle Warbeck and he were together in what I can only imagine. Her innocence has already been confirmed, although upon learning of how she has been treated. Last but certainly not least, and the article in the newspaper documenting his, as some see, heroic speech amongst the house of... And where are we left now? But when one looks most innocent...
finally,
Everything all right, Poirot?
I'm afraid things...
Don't tell me.
Stumped? No. Perhaps you can be my...
I may not be the celebrated doctor that my father hoped for, but I still like to keep up with recent medical journals.
And what is the...
This particular article is about the effect of cocaine on...
What makes you...
I wouldn't want my heart beating at this... I haven't actually. I gave him my office telephone number and said he could call anytime.
You sound surprised.
He probably wants to keep his health issues out of... Do you think there is... How those little gray...
Please,
You're serious?
at this point anything is a possibility. Mademoiselle Babagna.
Good morning.
I'm afraid my pleasantries are to be cut short this morning. Good morning, mademoiselle.
That's...
The case...
I will...
Merci.
Whatever you need.
I must...
Just a moment. I'm coming.
What a great commotion coming from behind the door. What on earth is Monsieur Aylesworth up to?
Ah, Detective. What can I do for you?
Could you spare a moment of your time? If you are feeling up to it?
Why wouldn't I?
You are recovering from a potentially fatal heart attack.
Are we really going...
It would...
Very well. And then I was...
The editor?
If you say so.
Monsieur Aylesworth is sticking to his story. I did not expect that it would be...
And why would I? Oh,
One would think that thanking the man that saved...
I'm a very busy man, as I'm sure...
On the contrary. Had Monsieur Demire not been there with his
If Monsieur Aylesworth is not prepared to tell the truth, perhaps I can use his own...
The nurse said herself that I had the heart of a young athlete.
Well, I would not take that. Merci.
I find myself in a most problematic position. There must be someone else that I can call upon. The obvious choice would be Monsieur Demire.
Whatever you need.
You need all... Go.
I require a distraction.
Who am I to...
Monsieur Aylesworth.
Detective Poirot?
Not cross.
I assume...
A requested tour of the Royal Society.
Then that is...
The door has been left ajar. I could hear Monsieur Aylesworth fumbling around behind his door on my last... I can presume he had some...
Ah. Huh. Oh. Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Things are beginning... Order and method. I must take a I should consider... I must act... Something... Some would say a lucky guess. Logical thinking. Where is the sense in that? This will not get me. Is there something? The answer was... I cannot see the logic.
Oh.
Put your hands up and step away from there.
Monsieur, there is no need.
Enough of your phony pleasantries. Let's see what the real police have to say.
The first thing they would notice is the politician aiming his revolver at an officer while they are conducting official police business.
I'm sure they would agree. I have every right to protect myself from a foreign intruder.
If you were to lower the gun, perhaps we could discuss the situation we find ourselves in.
You may have authority in your own country, but not here. Now, explain yourself. You don't know what you're talking. How has it all come to this? No, it's not my fault. It's...
It is not too late. Your intentions were good. Scotland Yard will look sympathetically at...
If you had just left that fool Hardwick to it, we wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't have to do this.
I have done nothing but remain honorable to my oath to uphold the law. It is Monsieur's choices and actions that have brought us to this point. And he must accept responsibility for what is to come.
You're right.
All the better for seeing you, Hastings.
I was worried I was going to miss him.
Your timing and accuracy could not have been more perfect.
What do we do now?
We take our leave.
And what about him? Will he be okay?
He shall be fine. Although I am not envious of the sore head he will awake to. Come, there is much to tell.
Behind the bookshelf. But I never.
Monsieur Dryden, how are you?
Detective
Poirot.
Yes, of course. She is, but not here.
Do you know?
She said something. For what?
Forgive me. I recently inherited a number of belongings from a deceased relative, including an undeveloped spool of film.
I'd like to help.
I'm more than capable, and I'll leave it tidier than when we arrived.
In that case, knock yourselves out. I've got to meet.
Pardon. Where has this confident and daring version of Monsieur Hastings been hidden?
We all have a hidden side. It's just our own choice of when to show it.
So,
Don't tell me there is something that...
I must concede that...
Lucky I'm here, then. We need to start with it. Next, pour the fixer fluid into another tray, and then...
I have a newfound respect.
Let's just wait until we see...
Aha. Oh. Aha. Ah. Huh. Huh. Huh.
Have you found it yet? You want the photographic fixer?
And how would one...
It smells like ammonia. Handy, I suppose, when... We've already been over this, Poirot. I don't want to argue.
I have no intentions of continuing our previous...
She didn't steal the painting, though.
Her guilt in Mademoiselle... Merci.
Okay, I think that's everything. Oh.
Is there a problem?
There shouldn't be, but...
Is that not the point of a dark room?
We need to find where the light's coming in from and down...
You continue your work, and I shall find the curious light source. Monsieur Hastings.
I'm in...
Merci.
Ah.
Monsieur Hastings.
I'm in the...
I'm...
Merci.
Monsieur Hastings.
I'm in...
I'm afraid...
Mr. Poirot, you are a genius. Mr. Poirot, you are a genius. That would never have even occurred to me. Look, this photograph is just about finished. Is that?
It appears...
And what has she got in her hand? That can't...
The cigarette case that was taken from Mademoiselle Farquhar... It appears Mademoiselle Farquhar had a much closer relation...
Cousins.
Oui, monsieur. Hastings, I must thank you.
For what? Allowing...
For saving me from whatever Monsieur Aylesworth had...
If it wasn't for me licking my wounds, you wouldn't have been there alone.
And if you were, and not at the Court Smythe estate, we would never have made such revelations. You are one of the most honest and authentic fellows I have met. You cannot allow a misguided moment of...
You have never let yourself fall to the...
No. And that...
With Hastings' help at the Court Smythe estate, something I would have liked to have considered, we now know the reasoning behind Mademoiselle Farquhar's brutal actions towards her. The circumstances around the murder need no further consideration. But the A moment of peace before one's little grey cells must ponder how Mademoiselle Court Smythe made it from the museum with the painting in tow. Ah, yes. Hastings had some, even after the truths of her crimes and personal betrayal. Mademoiselle Warbeck still feels it within her for a final send-off. Perhaps Mademoiselle did not leave.
Poirot, there you are. What are you...
On this occasion, there is no time for pleasantries. We shall finally bring the mystery of the missing painting to an end. We must return to the scene of the initial crime. The Royal Edward Gallery. Is everyone present? Please ask them to convene in the exhibition room. Is there something you're not telling me? All will be Messieurs et Mesdames, thank you for joining us here today.
What's this all about?
Yes, my time is rather valuable.
I thought everyone was here to see the exhibition.
I'm all for looking at some real art, as long as it's not all hers.
I understand the frustration and hostility that most of you must feel towards her. For some, even...
Hatred, loathing, disgust.
Betty, please.
Even after everything, you stand here and defend her?
I'm not defending her. If anyone should hate her,
perhaps you should move on.
In this room is where it... We are all aware Mademoiselle Court-Smythe was behind the painting's disappearance. But it was not a moment of greed that drove her. But rather a well-orchestrated plan that involved most of you...
All right, we all know why we're here.
At the Detective Inspector's request. Perhaps a fitting place to begin.
If that's gonna get...
You are all aware of the fire and...
The fire that she started off...
That is where the difference between the... Inside Mademoiselle's apartment was the penitent Magdalene painting. Or at least a forgery. The fire was set purposely, in an attempt to destroy evidence and hide...
Poirot, the penitent Magdalene.
It all ends.
I know things got out of hand, but...
I have dedicated my...
I know you have a flair for the dramatic.
I wonder how many many...
haven't you caused enough?
Madame Hélène, the famous actress...
Look here!
When you overheard the conversation between your husband and Mademoiselle Court...
I did everything to keep you happy, but it was never good enough.
It began with an infatuation, but turned into...
So that's why you took...
She manipulated me. You...
Oh, just keep...
Perhaps for once.
This is all going to...
Deals were hatched, forgeries were created, and from it, she allowed for you all to see and know only...
As much as I'm enjoying this...
You shall have to wait only a moment longer. as there was only one accomplice left. Not only her aid in the museum, but in the construction of the forgeries.
You were part of it.
Taking us all for fools.
You know where the painting is.
Mademoiselle Warbeck.
No, I mean...
On the contrary, Mademoiselle Court Smythe
I wouldn't kill her, though.
You cleaned the key to... You continued to deny a relationship that was nothing more than
You think I don't... I knew it had been her that took the key from my pocket.
Behind bars, that's where she belongs.
Give it a rest, old man.
She can't speak to me like that.
Before you continue riding your high horse,
My actions? How?
It is you that makes a mocker.
I have dedicated...
The pieces you had commissioned by Mademoiselle Court Smythe, which hang on your church walls.
Why are we even...
Has this got anything to do...
Mademoiselle Court Smythe's forgeries would be...
You have no proof.
Poirot, the penitent...
How could one forget? We have already discussed one of the multiple forgeries. Mademoiselle Court Smythe sold you a forgery that you believe to be real. One should not allow oneself the arrogance to consider themselves the smartest in the room. I am sure theft and embezzlement are questionable in...
It all ends here.
I know things got out of hand.
There still remain one the image of the honorable and distinguished...
It may seem like an alien concept to you, but... How long...
Poirot, can we...
While searching the main hall for clues, a snuff box was found, full of cocaine. And after speaking with my good friend...
Recent studies have discovered that the use of cocaine...
Your heart attack became the perfect distraction, while Mademoiselle Court Smythe was able to slip into the exhibition room and remove the painting from...
Faking a heart attack is pretty low.
Monsieur Hastings.
Once the painting had been confirmed.
And Monsieur Aylesworth had bothered the detective inspector enough to show he had nothing to do with it.
He would get to keep the original and claim the insurance money. He was going...
You'll stay right where you are.
A stolen painting. Time all designed to raise his profile.
I wasn't doing it for me.
I have never heard a more self-righteous...
How am I meant to help those that...
I know you have a flair for the dramatic...
Poirot, the penitent...
I wonder how many...
And...
This is all going to make...
Deep down, I knew she never loved me. And it was all too good to be...
It all ends...
I know you have a flair for the dramatic...
Deep down, I knew she never...
This is all going to...
And
I wonder how many other...
I know you have a flair.
Poirot, the penitent man.
It all ends...
Mademoiselle Court-Smythe manipulated everyone. But that does not excuse the parts that you all have played.
Poirot, the murderer. Tell us...
Of our suspects, all guilty in Monsieur Christiansen. A lover, jilted and tossed aside from a life promised together. Mademoiselle Warbeck, another that was promised her heart only to become a second, caught in Mademoiselle's web. Monsieur Aylesworth. Bishop Mountjoy, a third, sold the idea of a Mademoiselle Farquhar. Trapped in a partnership, all with motive, but lacking opportunity. Isn't that right? Our true relation to the deceased. Cousins.
You don't understand.
You decided to poison her with potassium cyanide. A chemical often found in photography, wearing an almost identical hat to the deceased, leaving her body lifeless in her own apartment. You tried to cover your involvement in both of... Incredibly clever.
Did you really just praise her for starting?
On the contrary, a timer was used, allowing for Mademoiselle Farquhar to be seen in her office as she slipped in and out of the darkroom window.
I didn't want to kill her, but she gave me no choice.
She gave you no choice? You planned an...
A cousin that has controlled me for years.
She held you captive? I did not see a prison cell in her apartment.
No, of course. Emotionally and fine, I was a struggling critic. But she taught me how to stand up for myself.
You were aware of her?
Not at first.
But even when you did...
There was always a reason I couldn't. I couldn't remain under her control anymore.
Mademoiselle.
All I see is the student.
Detective Inspector? The truth has been revealed, and Mademoiselle Court-Smythe's murderer will pay the price for her crime.
There is...
If you think for a moment that the...
Go on, then.
In this very museum. If the original painting was to find its way into her portfolio, it would be returned to her after her exhibition has concluded. Meaning...
It would be delivered to her on a plate.
Exactement. She prepared one of her picture frames and made sure it would be in the restoration room.
what on earth is he doing?
You've got to be kidding me.
It would take too long to remove the nails from the frame and hide it, surely.
The nails were sewn down, creating the illusion of being used correctly, when in fact the backboard was easily accessible. Hidden perfectly behind what Mademoiselle Court-Smythe deemed to be her masterpiece.
I never doubted him for a second.
Messieurs et mesdames, the penitent Magdalene.
Well, detective, you've solved both the theft and...
Finding the murderer and solving 2 thefts would have been far more impressive.
2 thefts?
You have forgotten Mademoiselle Farquhar's missing cigar...
Oh, of course. Do you think Miss Farquhar lied?
Mademoiselle Farquhar is far from an honest woman. But if our motive was indeed to fake theft and claim the insurance money, she would surely not have left it lying where Mademoiselle Babagnan claimed to have found it. Mademoiselle Babagnan's motive is now clear. How she pulled off such a cunning theft, still. Something Hastings said has my little grey cells fired up. Nothing... Could Mademoiselle Babagnan have pulled the wool over my eyes in a similar way?
It is you that should be happy, mademoiselle. You turned a stolen heirloom with a thief and a victim into...
A case of being an...
I do not believe in coincidence. You were where you were meant to be. Had you not bolded when you did, you would like it, or been able to be within touching distance of so many beautiful and historical pieces. One thing I have learned during my time here in London is that people portray a version of themselves. One to be seen or be met, and another that remains hidden from the world.
What are you...
That there are some that perhaps, under different circumstances, I would...
Will you be leaving?
There are a few small matters to settle before I leave. Mademoiselle Farquhar is now in the hands of the Scotland Yard.
You really do?
If you do not believe in it...
And everyone?
I believe that we should be held accountable for our action.
Or woman?
And you, mademoiselle?
There's nothing more for me. Perchance our paths?
Perhaps. And
I look forward.
Well, that's that then.
Oui, monsieur. The cases are closed and Mademoiselle Farquhar...
What of the others?
Judging by the detective inspector's glare at Monsieur Aylesworth and Bishop Mountjoy, once knew...
I was hoping at least someone would get a happy ending.
Monsieur Hastings, you have been...
I helped where I could, but it was mostly you.
What you may not know, and I would kindly request you keep to yourself.
Loner?
I would not go as far.
Good thing I was around to save you from a gunman.
I fear I shall not live that down.
I'll maybe hold on to it a little longer.
The great Detective Poirot. As much as I admire your formality, I think we should...
Our new relationship?
I have seen the benefit of friendship. Connecting with someone that can be trusted. Someone that shares an authenticity not only in themselves, but in their beliefs.
And that's me. Detective Poirot and his...
It does have a certain charm.